Welcome to the Awesomers.com podcast. If you love to learn, and if you're motivated to expand your mind, and heck, if you desire to break through those traditional paradigms and find your own version of success, you are in the right place. Awesomers around the world are on a journey to improve their lives and the lives of those around them. We believe in paying it forward, and we fundamentally try to live up to the great Zig Ziglar quote, where he said, "You can have everything in your life you want if you help enough other people get what they want." It doesn't matter where you came from, it only matters where you're going. My name is Steve Simonson, and I hope you will join me on this awesomer journey.
If you're launching a new product manufactured in China, you will need professional, high-resolution, Amazon-ready photographs. Because Simo Global has a team of professionals in China, you will oftentimes receive your listings photographs before your product even leaves the country. This streamlined process will save you the time, money, and energy needed to concentrate on marketing and other creative content strategies before your item is in stock and ready for sale. Visit simoglobal.com to learn more, because a picture should be worth 1,000 keywords.
You are listening to episode number 83 of the Awesomers.com podcast series. And all you have to do is pop on over to awesomers.com/83 to find any little details, show notes, links, and things that we talk about in today's episode. Now, today's part one of a three-part episode with the entrepreneur Andy Arnott. Now, Andy started selling on Amazon back in 2013 and hit 7 figures within the first 8 months. Before starting his Amazon business, he worked for the US government in the aerospace industry and ran a 7-figure Android app business. We're going to talk a little bit about both those experiences. In 2015, he got his first Amazon-related SaaS product, software as a service, that got Amazon sellers reviews. In 2017, he launched AMZ Blitz, an Amazon product launch and rank company. And in 2018, he rolled out a new feature called Seller SEO, a service dedicated to helping sellers automate and optimize their Amazon businesses. He continues to sell millions on Amazon, and through his coaching and software has helped thousands of Amazon sellers grow their businesses. Now, Andy's a great guy to listen to and learn from, and his origin story is, as always, inspiring and helpful to understand everybody's journey. It really is instructive and fun. Let's dive into today's episode. This is, again, part one of a 3-part series with Andy right now. Hey everybody, Steve Simonson back again with another episode of the Awesomers.com podcast series. And today we're joined by Andy Arnott. Did I get that spelling or the pronunciation right?
You did. You nailed it, and which is funny because I get the French one a lot. You know, Arnaud. They think the double T is silent and all that fun stuff. So yeah, no, you nailed it. Good job.
If it was Arnaud, I would have had no shot at it. I'm not going to lie. So, so that helps my average. Today it's been running pretty about 50%, and for the month I would say I'm less than 50%. So I'm thrilled to have a couple that I can get right. So Andy, I've already read in kind of your bio and the big picture stuff during the read-in here. Tell me, just in your own words, where you live today and kind of what takes up your day-to-day time.
So I'm in Sonoma County, which is wine country. If you've ever been to Northern California, it's about an hour and a half north of San Francisco, specifically in the town of Santa Rosa. So last year when you were watching your news and you were seeing houses burn, unfortunately, that's my neighborhood. It got pretty close to us, but we were one of the really lucky ones, and we escaped that. So so that's where we live, and day to day is Amazon seller. Started that in end of 2012, beginning of 2013. Still doing that today, and we still sell 7 figures. We actually got to 7 figures fairly quickly, which was in 2012, 2013, it was a little easier to get to that number quickly. The competition was a lot lower, but I also have, a big background in startups and technology. And so it was kind of an easy, I shouldn't say easy. Amazon's never easy, but it was probably easier for me than a lot to kind of get into it. And then I also have software as a service. I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I'm always doing new things. But the latest is sellerseo.com, and I'm kind of going all in on it because I think it's my best project I've ever done, and I think it's going to help a lot of people, and I have a blast doing it. So it's
exciting when everything fuses together, right? Your interest and your experience all comes together, and then you're really passionate about it. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Good. Well, listen, I'm sure we're going to dive into some of that in a little bit more detail. One of the things that I'm intrigued about, and it's clearly you're an early adopter on some level, right? If you like technology and
I
you're
absolutely am. Yeah.
selling Amazon stuff that early.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also kind of have a knack for, well, I shouldn't say. I mean, I'm. It's probably a lot of luck too, but I'm kind of good at seeing what's next, like skating to where the puck is, kind of thing.
A unique hockey reference coming out of Northern California. What's happening?
Well, when you ask me about what university I went to, it'll all make
Oh, okay.
sense.
We're tying it together. I like that little. Hey, that's a little foreshadowing for the audience out
There you go. Yeah, a little
there. Get a
teaser.
sense of what's coming.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to dig in, and maybe we'll do that right now because I love what I call the Awesomer origin stories. Where do people come from? Where do they begin? And it
Right.
starts really from the very, very beginning of where were you born?
Sure. Yeah. So this is also kind of an interesting one. Is I was born on Oahu in Hawaii. My parents moved to the Big Island when I was about 2 years old. I was raised on the Big Island, stayed there till I was 18 and graduated and went off to college. So yeah, I grew up in Hawaii, which is pretty unique and very lucky. Hawaii was a great place to grow up in. The people there, if you've ever been, of course, are very friendly. You know, not a lot of crime, a very big sense of community. Yeah, so that was where I was born and grew up there and
Yeah, well,
um,
so I mean, I can do the math on hockey. That's the heart of hockey country, really.
that's why I said it gets interesting.
Yeah. So we're still teasing that one for the future. But
Yeah,
I'm curious on you're growing up in Hawaii, which seems like a magical place to grow up or spend any great length of time.
yeah.
Did you do the traditional like go out surfing and swimming and all that kind of stuff, or what?
Well, yeah. So I was lucky. My childhood home till I was about 10 years old was in a town called Hilo. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's on the Big Island.
Yeah.
And there's a surf area called Honolulu, and Honolulu is kind of world renowned. It's very well known. And the neighborhood I grew up in was about a half-mile walk to that beach. So we used to walk down to the end of our street, and then there was this crazy cutback dirt trail that we'd kind of cut through as kids. We'd get to the bottom. You'd have to swim across there's kind of a river that goes into the ocean there. You'd swim across that to the beach, and then you'd swim out to the break and catch waves. And we'd stay there till usually early evening, 5:30. Sometimes we'd sit on the beach and make little bonfires, and then it was different times back then where your parents just sent the kids off and didn't worry about you, and then we'd be home by dinner. And yeah, it was a pretty magical childhood, I would say.
Yeah, that does sound pretty nice. I do remember the days of, hey, get out of the house. It's Saturday. Don't come back till dinner, and don't
Exactly.
really fill me in on the details. I don't.
Exactly. Yeah. Times have changed, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a much more of an accounting. I'll need a point by point Google map of where you are and
Yeah. And
triple triangulate
yeah,
that.
and here's your GPS watch that you must wear at
That's
all
right.
times. And
Yeah.
your car is metered so you don't go over 55 miles an hour. And
Oh, I got to get me one of those for my daughter who's starting to drive.
there you go.
Hopefully, it won't apply to me because I definitely like to move. So, all right. So now you mentioned that your parents were there in Hawaii. What kind of work did they do?
Yeah, so my mom was actually a flight attendant for United Airlines, and she did that for many, many years. And she actually had to commute via airplane to Oahu, which was, the hub for United back then. And then my dad he started out as a liquor salesman. So, somebody who goes to, restaurants and things like that to sell beer, wine, spirits, things like that. And he actually worked his way up all the way to the vice presidency. And they actually offered him the main gig, but that would have taken us to to Oahu, the bigger island. Well, not bigger in landmass, but more people. And he really enjoyed the big island, the slow pace, and raising kids there. So he said, no, thank you. Yeah, he ended up in a kind of a sweet job. At the end of his career, I joked, I told him, so you get paid to go golfing and take people out drinking. I said, wow, that must be hard.
Yeah, particularly in the liquor business. I'm
Exactly.
sure that
And in Hawaii, nonetheless, where you got some of the best food and golfing, in the world.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that's sounds like a real challenging environment. I know
Yeah.
that those guys have to work and so forth, but that's a pretty good gig for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So, how
Absolutely.
about any siblings? Anybody running around?
Yeah. Yep.
back there?
I have a sister, and she lives in the Midwest, and she actually ended up being a flight attendant as well for American Airlines. So
Fascinating. She
yeah,
followed her
we've
mom's
got kind of a big aviation background, and when when you hear more of my story, I was in the aviation industry as well before I started doing all of this. But my cousin's a pilot as well and things like that. So yeah, I grew up in Hawaii, enjoyed that. And then my parents were, my mom was a flight attendant, but she was always, pretty entrepreneurial. She used to take, I remember, she would grow orchids and then take them to Japan because she was, she'd fly to Japan a lot and then sell the orchids there and make a nice profit. And then she also had a craft store at one point. My dad was also fairly entrepreneurial. Fireworks in Hawaii is kind of a big thing. And at one point we had fireworks stands, and I remember being in high school and helping him with that. And so it was, we kind of had a little bit of the entrepreneurial spirit going through, through the family as well.
That's fascinating. I really, it is interesting because, being on the island, I think having that ability to fly and get off the island basically seems like a pretty nice advantage, right? We love the island, we love to be there, but being
absolutely. Well, yeah. So growing up with my mom being a flight attendant, we got to go. When I was growing up, we went to the mainland a lot because we had family all over. So we had family in Jersey and in California. And just kind of Florida, all over the country. So, we'd go there. I remember going to New Zealand when I was like 13 years old. It was still one of my favorite places. I've never been back. One of these days soon. But yeah, we got to travel a lot. So we were kind of lucky in that sense. My mom being a flight attendant, that kind of worked out nicely living in Hawaii, but still being able to get off the island and see and do things. Yeah.
It's a good combination, I think, to be able to have that island life, but to be able to kind of plug back in where you want to.
Absolutely. Yep. And then I really enjoyed my dad being in the liquor business when I was in college. That was the other advantage.
Thank you for saying college. Because that's I'm sure that had some good times behind it. So before we kind of break into the rest of your origin story, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about university, maybe get a clue as to the hockey connection, and we're going to do that right after this. Hey everybody, I wanted to share another awesomer hero with you. This hero is found on iTunes in the review section with a 5-star review from Howie Rules. The title is Knowledge is Equity. And the review goes on to say, I met Steve at a lunch table at ASM4 in 2015, and he changed my life with his advice and mentorship after that. This podcast is a continuation of that mentorship, and it's a must listen for all entrepreneurs, especially e-commerce folks. Now, I won't disclose your identity, but I know who you are, and because I remember that lunch table in 2015, and I really just want to say a big thank you. You are my hero. I appreciate the shout out and the sharing that review on iTunes. Those reviews, in fact, are quite helpful to us. And I appreciate your kind words. If this podcast and anything else that I do is additive to entrepreneurs and awesomers around the world, then that just makes my day. I'm thrilled about it, and I love to see it. And I hope those of you out there listening will consider taking a moment and let us know how we're doing. I love the 5-star reviews, obviously. My feelings are hurt if it's below that. But to be honest, if we earn less than that, then go ahead, let us have it, and tell us how we can do better. I'm all about trying to deliver something of true value. And best of all for you, the price, pretty good. Free is hard to beat. And here we are back again, everybody. Steve Simonson, joined by Andy Arnott. I'm going with Arnott instead of Arnaud, but it could have gone either way. We'll find out why here in a minute. So Andy, so as you're coming up, obviously great life in Hawaii, enjoying the time there. How about university?
Yeah, so I went to the University of North Dakota from Hawaii, which everyone thought I was crazy.
Wow.
But there's kind of a funny story behind that. My, when I graduated, my dad said, okay, pick a college to attend. And I said, well, I want to go to Chico, because I want to study computer science. And he goes, no way, I have a friend at Chico. I know what that school's like. You can't go to Chico. And so I ended up, my two passions were aviation and computers. And so I ended up going with the computers, or with aviation, sorry. And so I went to the University of North Dakota, one of the top aviation schools in the country, which a lot of people don't know. It's kind of funny. So I went there. I wanted to be a pilot. So I went and got my pilot's license. I did that. Once I got my pilot's license and kind of got into that whole field, I just decided that it wasn't really for me. I had this vision of like Top Gun type flying, and I had actually, talked to some military recruiters in high school and thought about trying to go that way, but that didn't work out. But once I actually started flying, I was like, this is boring. This isn't, this is not my deal. Someday I want to fly again, but just, to go from point A to point B to make it easier to travel. But it's definitely not like a passion, something that I would want to do all the time just because. So I found out that my credits transferred to air traffic control. So I ended up studying that. I never actually thought that I would actually do that as a job. But I graduated with the degree, and about a year after college, between being done with college and then moving on to my aviation career, there's about a year there, and I was bartending, in my college town still, and but I was still super entrepreneurial. I had started businesses, super young. One of my first businesses in college, broadband. I was in college in '96 to 2001. And that was kind of the adoption of broadband. And back then, it was kind of hard to find broadband. So I built a website called ISP Spider, and you could put in your address and it would compare all the different packages. And then I had affiliate links that would go and give me a referral for all that. So that was kind of one of my early entrepreneurial things, though I had tons, probably, 30 over the years, if not more, all kinds of different stuff. But so I did that, and that was fairly successful. And then towards the end, this is when hotspots were also starting to kind of be a thing. And so my roommate and I at the time kind of wrote a business plan. We decided we were going to move to a suburb of Chicago, kind of near my sister, and we were going to start a hotspot business. Well, right around that same time, I ended up getting a call from the U.S. government saying, "Hey, we have a job for you in California." So, I thought about it and talked over with my parents. And of course, they want me to do the safe thing. I don't blame them at all. Being a parent of 3 children now, I don't blame my parents for any care or guidance that they gave me. They were doing the best that they can, but they're like, "Hey, take the safe, do the government job." And so that's what I did. And in retrospect, I probably should have done the other thing. But I am where I am today because of the steps I took. And I kind of feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. So that was kind of the right choice in the end. So yeah, I moved out to California, and I was an air traffic controller for 13 years. During that time, though, I always had, some side business that I was working on. At one point, when I was a single young 20-something in California, didn't know a lot of people. I wanted to start meeting girls, dating. So I got into the online dating scene a bunch. Ended up creating my own website, and I actually I don't know if you know Plenty of Fish. That website's
Sure.
still around. Marcus Freed was the
massive
founder of that. Yeah, it was massive. So I started competing with them, and I probably would have beat them if I hadn't. I ended up doing a big site redesign and tried to add so many features that it broke the site. I had 100,000 members at that time. So
wow, 100,000
yeah,
members.
so I kind of shot myself on the foot on that one. But every business you start, you learn something. So I kind of took that lesson and moved forward. But that's just an example of one of the many things that I've kind of done throughout the years.
Definitely, it's a variety that I've heard so far. But I'm curious about the air traffic control, because that's 13 years. That's seems to be a pretty high stress environment.
It is.
How was that?
Oh, we forgot to go to the teaser though. So
Yeah.
Of course I was at University of North Dakota, and while I was there,
Canada, essentially, yeah,
pretty much, we won the college national hockey championship. I think twice or 3 times. We at least won it twice, and I think we might have been to the playoffs like every year I was there. So I really kind of grew the love for hockey. Kind of grew from that. Winning national championships in any sport, being at a small school like that was pretty amazing and awesome to be around. So
I'm sure. Now, I'm not what are the climate guys called? A meteorologist, but
yeah,
I'm pretty sure North Dakota's frozen 9 out of 12 months. Is that fair to say?
It's cold. You honestly get used to it, though. I mean, everybody thought I was crazy, especially, and I remember I used to have to pull out my driver's license every time somebody asked me where I was from when I was going to school there. I'd say Hawaii. They're like, BS, come on, no way. So I'd have to pull out until I had to give it up. But while I still had it my freshman and sophomore year, I had to pull it out and be like, here you go. And they're like, oh my God, you're crazy,
Yeah, I don't know how big the student body is there, but I'm going to guess in the thousands. And I bet you can count on one hand, maybe one finger, how many people from Hawaii
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Yep. Yep.
That's
Yeah, and
quite a
there were
contrast.
days. Yeah, there were days where I'd walk out my front door and turn right back around and go back into the house and be like, "It's too cold today. I'm not going to class."
Yeah. Yeah, I'm checking out for today.
Yeah.
I've definitely spent some winters in North Dakota, and it gets cold for sure.
Yeah.
I've got an idea. Let's take a commercial break, and we'll be right back after this.
Catalyst 88 was developed to help entrepreneurs achieve their short and long-term goals in e-commerce markets by utilizing the power of shared entrepreneurial wisdom. Entrepreneurship is nothing if not lessons to be learned. Learn from others. Learn from us. I guarantee that we will learn from you. Visit catalyst88.com because your success is our success. Giddy up.
You know, I always find these origin stories to be so interesting, and this is no exception. You know, Andy's journey from the things that, you know, were working, or even when they were working, they still face challenges. And we're going to talk about more of those challenges and opportunities that happen in the rest of our episode series with Andy. Now, Andy's going to be on for 3 parts. This was part 1 of those 3 parts, and this was episode number 83. And all you have to do is pop on over awesomers.com/83, and you can see today's show notes, details, and probably even a transcript produced by our talented team. Thanks for listening. We are thrilled that you're here, and we hope that you're finding extraordinary value in every episode. Well, we've done it again, everybody. We have another episode of the Awesomers podcast ready for the world. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you've enjoyed our program today. Now's a good time to take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this podcast. Heck, you could even leave a review if you wanted. Awesomers around you will appreciate your help. It's only with your participation and sharing that we'll be able to achieve our goals. Our success is literally in your hands. Thank you again for joining us. We are at your service. Find out more about me, Steve Simonson, our guest, team, and all the other Awesomers involved at awesomers.com. Thank you again.